And in those relationships, at least for me, I was always led by my feelings.
Yeah.
Which feelings
will get you trapped.
Yes. Feelings are expensive, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you have standards, a standard doesn't move. It's the same. It does not compromise. Where feelings fluctuate and you find yourself making decisions off of feelings, which can cost you.
Welcome to the Naava Show, where we share our stories so God gets the glory. This episode today is probably one of my favorite episodes because it's one of my favorite scriptures, train up a child. Y'all already know the direction we're headed in. Today we have a very special guest with us. She is a mother. She is a wife. She has extensive experience in project management. She's a Sunday school teacher. She is just a real woman of God. Please help me welcome Mrs. Francesca Daniels. Hi, beautiful.
Hey.
Welcome to the Naava Show. So let's just jump right in. Tell us about your childhood. Tell us about a little bit about like how you came to Christ. Did you know Christ when you were a child? How did it develop into your teen years? Or let's talk about it.
Yes. I would say my earliest memory of being introduced to Christ was with my auntie Lula. She was the daycare provider for me and my siblings, and she was heavy in the church. So we would spend hours and hours and hours with her at the church. And she was a woman of prayer. I remember when it was nap time, I would wake up to her with her Bible in her lap. She stayed in that word.
That's beautiful.
So my auntie Lula, she is probably, the cornerstone of my introduction to Jesus Christ.
I used to wake up to my mama too. I'm like, okay, it's time to wake up.
Yeah.
And it would be like 6 a.m. They definitely, that spirit of the Lord would wake us right on up. So you grew up in church with your auntie. Shout out auntie.
Yes, shout out to Auntie Lula.
When did your relationship with God start to develop?
As a teenager, so I had a really good friend, still good friends, named Sharice. She was heavy in the church at that time. We were about 15, 16. She would have a teen Bible. And, she would spend weekends with me at my house. So just being around her, listening to her talk about God so much, it was compelling to me and intriguing to me. And with that, I would go to church with her. And through our friendship, that is when I actually gave my life to Christ.
Okay.
Yep. So that was the beginning of
So that was teenage?
Journey. Teenage, up 16 years old is when I gave my life.
So how did you become a single mom?
I went to St. Kate's in St. Paul. Shout out to St. Kate's for going into my 4th year. So the summer of going into my 4th year, I conceived through a relationship that I was in, a dating relationship. I don't want to make it sound like it was just as stable where we were so in love. We were dating, and through that relationship, I became pregnant.
You became pregnant.
So 4th year, going into college, got all these big plans for myself. I had dreams of working for BET Studios, living on the East Coast, all this big stuff. But I was faced with the challenge now of you're pregnant, you're going to keep the baby or you're going to make another decision. So it was in my heart to keep my child. Again, going into my 4th year, it was just grind mode. I knew I had to get so many classes done so that when he got here, I would have just a little bit left so I could go on and graduate. So working, going to school. Pregnancy was not all roses. It was actually a very sad time for me. My first bout of depression, I would say. My family don't even know this, so sorry, y'all. Y'all learning today. But I swear it felt like I cried every day. I would often cry in the shower. That was my fortress. Just out of fear, uncertainty, or like how did I allow myself to get into the situation. But God, I got through it. I graduated with my bachelor's. My baby was right there with me. He was 1 when I graduated. But that was when the journey really began for us. You know, now I got to work full time, you know, paying daycare, paying back these student loans. Life got real. My family was huge. I had a strong support system. But at the end of the day, everything still fell on me. So as you know, and as you have experienced, you know, the life of being a single mom, it's all on you. Everything is
definitely all on you. So let's dive into that a little bit. So were your parents together? When I mean together, I mean like married?
No, my parents were not together.
Did you grow up with your father around?
I did not.
Okay.
Yes, my father was actually a victim of substance abuse. My father is no longer with us too. He passed away in 2017. But through that, you know, a lot of healing. I probably love my dad even more now than I loved him before. But I did, unfortunately, I did not have my father. But I had my grandfather. And I had a lot of positive role models as well in my life.
So my father is alive. He's well, you know, living in Minnesota. He's in my life. But as I become an adult, I start to understand the difference between your father being alive, your father being present, and your father being active. And so me, when I got married at 19.
Wow.
I didn't really have anyone there telling me the red flags, what to look out for, how to present yourself. Why are you dating? Have you established, you know, I had no one guiding me. And so if your father wasn't present, I'm sure you probably experienced that too. Can we talk a little bit about how the lack of having a father figure role in a child's life impacts them specifically when it comes to dating?
Oh, yes. Well, as you've even said it, you know, with the father, at least, you know, pulling from my experiences, because again, I did not have this, but, you know, a father, he's the one who is going to set that foundation for you as a young lady and how you should be treated, right? He's that one who can pull you to the side if you introduce a young man to him and he sees some red flags. He can pull you to the side and explain that to you and protect you a little bit more, right? And steer you in a better direction, per se. I feel like when the father is not present, a young lady doesn't have that, right? She doesn't really know what standards to set. She probably don't even really know much about boundaries. You're just kind of out here blind and vulnerable, to be honest, and a target for people who don't have good intentions. So with that, at least in my experience, I went off of environment, who I'm around, who I went to school with, who you see at the nightclub and the happy hours, and then of course physical. We're gonna attract or go after what we are physically attracted to. And in those relationships, at least for me, I was always led by my feelings. Which feelings
will get you trapped.
Literally can cost. Feelings are expensive, right? Whereas if you have standards, a standard doesn't move. It's the same. It does not compromise. Where feelings fluctuate and you find yourself making decisions off of feelings, which can cost you. And in my case, it did cost me. But through God's grace, I'm in a much better position than I was, say, when I was in my early 20s. But it set me back, because I did not make good decisions based off of my feelings and not having standards.
So you mentioned when you became pregnant, that was the time where you got close to God.
Yes.
Through that time, your relationship with him started to build. Tell me about what that kind of looked like. I know for me, it was a lot of honesty, holding myself accountable for my actions. You know, the Bible says that the wages of sin is death. And so what that tells you is there's a price to sin. And so, the Bible also says kids are a blessing. My kids are a blessing, but that doesn't mean that I'm not dealing with the consequences of my actions. So let's talk about how you built your relationship with God. You say you kind of went through that depression, how you got through that, and how he took care of you.
Yes, absolutely. My pregnancy and journey of being a single mother was absolutely my introduction to God as my father, literally my father. It was hard. It was a lot of refining. I got to that point where I had to see my sin as well.
Yeah.
I didn't just get here because of what someone else did to me.
Right.
It was my actions as well. So I had to be real with myself. It was through that where God showed me accountability. You got to take this accountability. And unfortunately, you're going to have to go through what you're about to go through. Yeah. I'm going to be with you.
Yeah.
But you're going to go through this. Through my experience of being a single mom, he was a God of action for me. He showed up for me. He took care of me. I was still able to grow, like in my career. I was still able, I had a great financial stability because of my career. Things were still tight though, because as a single mom, everything is on you. So things were tight, but we got through it, and I never went without. God showed me the power of how he worked through people. He would work through my family. My grandfather, for example, when I was pregnant, I had this little raggedy Honda, leaking oil, smelling like transmission fluid, car just raggedy, broke down. My grandfather called me out of the blue, asking me about my car. Someone must have told him about it, but he told me, I'm gonna send my mechanic to tow your car, get it fixed for you, bring it back. My grandfather fixed my car, no questions asked. And when that car eventually broke down for good, my grandfather co-signed on me getting a new car. So again, my grandfather was a man he was a provider to the umpteenth power. But I know now that was God working through my grandfather and taking care of me.
So through your relationship, building your relationship with God, through your brokenness, that's actually when God showed up in the way that you needed him to, which was as a father. God had to train you and teach you so that you could teach and train your child, which goes back to Proverbs. Train up a child in the way they should go and they will not depart. A lot of times we like to use excuses, you know, the father's not there. I'm doing this by myself. I have no help. I don't know how to raise a man. I have 2 boys. Now, at the end of the day, life is not promised. I depend on God to father me and to father my children because he is the ultimate father. And so with that, you are a married woman.
Yes, I am.
Let's talk about how God kind of redeemed your story because I'm a single mom and my desire is to be a wife. And I believe there's a lot of women who are watching this who too desire to be a wife, and they may be single moms. How do we hold on and know that we shall reap what we want if we faint not?
Yes. My biggest advice to any young woman out there, single mom or not, if you have a desire to be married, my biggest advice to you would be to get in relationship with God. In my case, because of the traumatic experiences that I went through, not all traumatic, but just bad choices. It was costly, and that stuff weighs on you and it stays in you. In relationship with God, for me, was where I was refined. He brought things to the surface, things that needed to be healed, things that needed to be addressed. And it's still happening now. You know, it's forever. I'm forever evolving. But especially in a situation where you don't have a father, you don't have that foundation of standards and boundaries. In relationship with God, God would show you that. He's going to show you, you know, what standards to set. He's going to give you that discernment that you need when you're out here dating and, you know, making decisions. He is the God of standards. The Bible is full of standards. Literally. So if God has standards, so should we. And another thing I would say, for me, if you do not know how to be in relationship with God, you won't really know how to be in relationship with anyone else. Some may take that literally. Sure, you can have a part-time relationship with God, pray when you want, go to church when you want, just do your own thing and have your little boo or boyfriend on the side. And it looks like, you know, things are going well, it feels successful, but is that truly God's best for you? In relationship with God is where you really get pushed to that level of who he wants you to be, who you need to be. And to me, you can't lose with that. In relationship with God, him giving you the discernment, giving you the wisdom, helping you to set standards, giving you a new foundation, a foundation that you never had. You can't lose with that.
Yeah.
And what better way to prepare yourself to be a wife?
That is so true. So what I hear you saying is you can go out there and date.
Yeah.
And you can go out there and find your husband. But if you are not healed, you're truly setting yourself up for more pain.
Yeah.
A foundation that can crumble at any time because you need healing.
Yeah.
This is my first year not being in a relationship since the age of 19.
Wow.
And so I'm relearning like myself. Like, how do I not live with a man? How do I comfort myself when I'm looking for intimacy? When I want somebody to talk to, when I want someone to console me, when I want someone to confirm an idea I have. How do I allow God to be the man and my first love? And I think that's what people fail to realize is we're looking for love in all the wrong places. If you want love, first you have to go to God because God is love.
That's right.
And so my final question for you is, if you had advice for women who are waiting to be married or waiting on their Boaz, what would be your notes or your tips to help us become ready for marriage?
I'll be very honest here. I did not think I was going to get married when I did. Going off of what you see, I'm like, I'll probably get married in my 40s. My son will be grown. I'll be older. When I was in relationship with God, I didn't realize what I was being prepared for. I wasn't even necessarily trying to prepare myself for that or to be a wife. So, I mean, wait on God. It's His timing. You know, again, we don't want to beat ourselves up or work too hard at, oh, I got to do A, B, and C. Because this is what it looks like to prepare to be a wife. I personally don't think that's how it goes. I just think it's a natural thing. Get you right first.
Get you right first. I like that.
Stay in tune with God. Stay in relationship with God. Keep Him number one. And even when you do, or when you are blessed with that husband, still keep him number one because you're going to need him even more when you are in that marriage. Get you right first. Stay in relationship with God. And just wait on God. It's His timing.
It's His timing.
His timing, not ours.
So you reminding me to stop rushing the process.
Oh yeah, don't rush it.
Stop rushing the process. You're rushing your husband coming. He may not be ready. You're rushing your husband coming. You don't have no patience. You don't know how to talk to a man. You know, and I'm speaking on me because I'm still developing. I'm realizing I made some mistakes with men. But I'm also realizing God is teaching me when it comes back to standards, what I should allow, how a man should treat me, what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. You know, so He's loving me in the way that I need to be loved. And so thank you for reviving and just enlarging my hope that my husband is on the way. But I hope that she did that for you too. Because listen, being a single mom, it's not it.
It's not.
It's not it. Look, husband, God, when I'm ready, send him on time, no delay. So we want to thank.
It ain't for the week.
It's not for the week.
It will set you 10 years.
It's not.
Back.
But I'm actually, Lord, I'm ready to be submissive. I'm submitting to you first, so I can submit to Him next. And that's the kind of heart they say you got to have.
That's right. That's right.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Sarah Naava Show. It's been an honor having you as a guest. Y'all, this ride really just begun. So stay tuned, subscribe, and thank you for watching the Sarah Naava Show.
God, you call me by my name. The love you give me, I just can't deny.